Sometimes history just hands you a complete puzzle. And in this case, it's a book. A book about a man named Frederick, and it's just filled with these faded portraits, mysterious names, and texts that, well, you can barely even read it anymore. So let's dive into this and see what story these pages can still tell us. Okay, so the man at the center of all this is Nicolaj Friedrich Severin Grundtvig. And that is a massive name in Danish history. I mean, he was a poet, a philosopher, a pastor. The man was an absolute titan. His public image is this stoic nation builder, like monument carved in stone. This is the guy everybody thinks they know. But see, this isn't a public monument. It's personal. And its weathered pages hint at a much more complicated story, one that was totally hidden from the public eye. Which really makes you wonder, right? Who was the man behind that famous name? Now, before we go looking for the private man, we really have to understand the public figure he was. Grundtvig's legacy is just immense. He basically shaped modern Danish identity, education, the whole culture. And understanding that makes the private clues we're about to uncover even more fascinating. Now, here's what's so interesting about this whole thing. The fact that the text is faded and almost ghostly. That isn't a dead end. It's actually a clue. It forces us to look beyond the words and pay attention to everything else, the chapter titles, the little illustrations, the very feel of the book, to piece together a completely different kind of story. All right, so to understand any person, you have to understand their world, right? So before we get any deeper into this book, let's just take a second to set the scene for Frederick's life. He lived from the late 1700s to the late 1800s. And believe me, this was not a quiet time. It was an age of shadow and light, of cannons and new ideas, just a period of massive upheaval all across Europe that would have shaped every single part of his life. I mean, this was the world of Napoleon's huge ambitions and Rousseau's revolutionary ideas about the individual. It was the Romantic era, a time of intense feelings, epic poetry, and a deep questioning of all the old traditions. Grundtvig wasn't just living in this world, he was right in the middle of it, wrestling with its biggest ideas. And it's right there, in that context of passion and upheaval, that we find the most personal clues in the entire book. We're getting to the heart of the mystery now, the women who are mentioned in these pages. So get this, 2 entire chapters aren't dedicated to some grand idea, but to 2 women, Lise and Laura. For a huge public figure like Grundtvig, dedicating chapters in a personal book to specific women is, well, it's incredibly significant. In an era where a man's private life was supposed to be a model of propriety, singling them out by name was a deliberate, personal statement. Who were they? Lovers? Muses? We don't really know, but their names just echo through these pages. And then there's this. Tucked away inside the book, we find a portrait. It's not of a king or a general, it's of this woman. Her expression is calm, maybe a little sad. She is an undeniable, yet totally anonymous presence in his private world. So who is she? I mean, is this the face of Lise, or is it Laura? History may have completely forgotten her name, but this portrait, placed right here in his book, it tells us she was not forgotten by him. Her influence is totally there, even if her story has been lost to time. But his private life wasn't just about his relationships with other people. The book shows us he was also on this really profound internal journey. Right in the middle of all these chapters on history and love, we find this one title, Den Ophøjede Ro. It really stands out. It's not about a person or an event. It's about a state of being. And the translation is, the sublime serenity. Wow. That single phrase just opens a window into the whole other side of this public titan. It reveals this deep, personal yearning for inner peace, for a quiet center in the storm of his life and his really turbulent times. This shows us he wasn't just a man of action and public debate. He was also a seeker, someone looking for something transcendent. This chapter title points to a man trying to square his public battles and his private passions with this deep, personal quest for tranquility. So what do we have when we put all of these pieces together? Well, what we have is a story of 2 lives lived by one man. On one side, you've got the public monument, Grundtvig, the father of modern Denmark. Severe, historic, a known quantity. And on the other side, you have the private man, a man connected to Lise and Laura and this mysterious woman, a man searching for sublime serenity. And this really brings us to a powerful idea, doesn't it? This book, in its beautiful, faded state, it's a reminder that a person's legacy is never just the story they tell the world. It's also shaped by the chapters they keep private, the names known only to them, that quiet search for their own peace. Which leaves us with one last thing to think about. For Grundtvig, and really for all of us, how do the unseen stories, the hidden portraits, and the silent chapters of our lives ultimately define the person we become and the legacy we leave behind?